All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Athlete and Artist Show. I am the artist Kyle Forge alongside my co-host, professional hockey player Zach Boychuk. Today we have a great guest on the podcast. He is the official jewelry partner of the Los Angeles Kings. He provides professional athletes with the best watches, the best diamonds that you can find on the market. You've seen him on Missing Curfew, Spittin' Chicklets, countless other shows. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larry Flowers.
What an intro.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here, boys. Thanks for having me, man. You guys reached out to me. We've been trying to do this for a while now, and I know we kept getting into going over a couple of speed bumps, but I'm truly honored. Anytime anyone asks me to come on a podcast, I'm truly honored, and I'm excited to chop it up with you, boys.
Yeah, man, we're excited to have you too. And we had a little bit of a couple delays getting this new season rolling, but we've been rolling pretty good. Rumble.com, we're our new partner, so we're happy amidst the playoffs now too. So perfect guy to have on the pod. Man, how you been? What have you been up to? You got a new office coming. You got some new properties you're closing on. Just working nonstop. Man, what's going on in the life of Larry Flowers?
I miss the old life when you could just, you just go to work, you go home, and nothing matters. You just do whatever you want, whenever you want. But now I got real responsibilities. I'm actually a real adult now with a real business. No, but things are amazing. Business is incredible. I've never been so dialed in my life with my company and continuing to grow it. Obviously I like to, now I'm really learning about what it's not only making money, but what you do with your money and investing it properly and getting into real estate. And, we're in the process of moving our office back from downtown Los Angeles in the Diamond District back to Beverly Hills, where I've lived for 15 years. We haven't done that yet, but that's another process. And there's just a lot of moving parts, and just got my hands on a nice new piece of real estate back in Margate, New Jersey, Jersey Shore town, where I grew up going my whole life, where I spend my summers. I got a nice piece of little land there right on the sand. So huge accomplishment to myself. Very proud of myself for this one. I've been looking for something in this vicinity right next to my mother's house. So this. But I'll tell you what, the banks don't make it easy for you. That's for damn sure. Holy hell, they make you jump through every damn hoop, and it's nuts.
That's awesome, though, man. Congrats. Did you get just land, or are you building on it?
No, I bought a property. I'm gonna probably gut it in a year or two and redo it. But yeah,
that's awesome, man. Congrats on that.
I appreciate it.
And man, I mean, the business must be going well if you've been living in Beverly Hills for 15 years.
Well, I mean, not everyone in Beverly Hills is living in the hills in $30 million houses. But look, I mean, listen, I've been in LA 22 years. I moved out here after college. Went to the University of Pittsburgh. I'm originally from Philadelphia. And I moved to LA. My sister went to USC, and so she convinced me to come out and visit LA. She thought I'd love it, and it's better than New York, in her opinion, which is where I was supposed to end up. And I came to visit, and I fell in love with it. I mean, what's not to love? The weather's beautiful. People are good looking. And I came out here for a week during my spring break in my spring break in college, my senior year, and I had a great time. And I said, you know what, let me shift gears here. Maybe California's the move. So after college, drove out here straight with no plan, just a few bucks in my pocket. And it's been 22 years, and it's been an incredible journey, and continuing to, and it continues.
So when did you start getting into jewelry? Was it when you moved to LA, or did you already have an interest in it before that?
Honestly, no. It was far after I moved out to LA. I moved out to LA. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Got an awesome bartending job right on the Sunset Strip. I was the head bartender there for 4 years at one of the biggest bars right on the Sunset Strip. So I had a great time there. Made a lot of money, at the time. But about 10 years went by where I was just kind of doing my thing, having fun, and not giving a fuck about anything. And one of my childhood best friends started a gold buying company in Dallas, Texas. He was buying scrap gold, silver, platinum, diamonds from the public. And the company just absolutely exploded. And he's like, hey, man, you should move out to Dallas with me for 6 months and learn what I'm doing and bring it back to California. I think you would kill it out there. And this was during that boom when, you saw the Cash for Gold stores on every corner of every shopping center, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
It was like during that time. And so anyway, we started this company where we would set up, gold buying parties at people's homes, and all these ladies would come out with all their old stuff that they didn't want anymore. And we'd buy it all, diamonds, gold. Then we'd see watches and whatnot. So anyway, that company just absolutely exploded for us. And then I brought it to California, and I did very, very well with it. But then over the course of time, when being around, you're around jewelry, you're around gold, you're around diamonds and stuff like that. I'd have guys come up to me and say, "Hey, Flowers, can you help me with a watch? Can you find me a watch? Or can you help me with a diamond? Can you help me with an engagement ring?" And most of those guys were guys that were playing in the NHL at the time, because I obviously have a lot of buddies that played in the NHL, and word kind of spreads quickly that they, even though I wasn't like a huge jeweler or really any sort of jeweler at all, it's not rocket science. You figure out who to work with. You learn about diamonds, you do your homework, you go to school, and it's about trust, right? Everything's about trust in this life, in my opinion. And so, I'd get one guy, Roman Yossi, comes to me, "Can you help me with this?" Another guy comes to me, and before you know it, I'm doing engagement rings and watches for a bunch of guys in the show, and then I'm getting other people from different networks, and slowly but surely it's growing. And then I have and now I have a legit business going. And obviously then the Blue story happened, and my company completely exploded like through the roof. So, and yeah, we'll get into that too.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's so. Did you already had a couple buddies in the NHL as you were building this business, and then?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I have tons of friends. Roman Yossi, Eric Nystrom, Scotty Upshaw, Shane O'Brien, Joffrey Loophole. I mean, some of my best friends. Mike Comrie at the time. And list goes on. I'm friends with. I have a long list. Guys I've known just from playing when I was young, and just from friends of friends. When you live in LA, it's all you do is network. And me, Eric Nystrom, Mike Comrie, we're all like best friends. And so, you meet one person, you meet another, meet Sid, and I've known Sid forever, and now we're good buddies. And yeah, man. So, it grows. You do well for one person, and then all of a sudden, the word spreads, and they get you somebody else, they give you a referral. And now I've been doing this. It's been like 13 years of just grinding.
So was Pittsburgh your team growing up then? Obviously from there, or?
Nah, I'm from Philly.
Or from Philly, I mean. Sorry.
But I went to Pitt. So Pittsburgh's never been my team for anything except for Pitt sports. We got a good rivalry buzzing. But the joke is, me and Sid talk quite a bit. And the joke is that I'm a huge Sid fan. I always have been. He's an unbelievable guy. You play with him. He's a great guy, and he's funnier than most people realize. And we've been buddies for a long time. So I've always rooted for him, and I've always rooted for Pittsburgh, for the Pens. And Mario Lemieux was one of my favorite players when I was a kid. So, and so like secretly, I've always cheered for the Pens a little bit. But other than that, like, when it comes to the Steelers and all those other teams, like there's no chance. I'm full blown Philly boy.
You were born in France originally?
I was. Yeah, I was born in Paris, France. My father was from Europe, and I lived out there for 7 years. And then after 7 years, my mother's like, "Hey, I want my kids to be American." I got me and my brother.
Okay.
And so we moved the family to Philly, which is where she's from. And grew up in Northeast Philadelphia. I grew up in a great neighborhood, tough blue collar neighborhood, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Everyone I grew up with they were all tough, and we ran around the streets all day. That's all we did. We rode our bikes, and old school. We were, we played a lot of sports. We never went home. Last man home. It was like you didn't want to be the first one to go home because you didn't want to miss something. We grew up fighting, having fun, like no holds barred. But it was great. It was a great place to grow up, and I'm still best friends with the majority of the people I grew up with.
That's awesome. So did you end up playing a little bit of hockey in Philly too, like coming up as a kid? Yeah,
I played for a long time. Most of my youth, I played for the Philadelphia Junior Flyers.
Sweet.
Through Bantam and midget. We were I was part of great. It's a great program. Little Flyers, Junior Flyers were two of the best teams in the area at the time. It was only AA at the time. We didn't have AAA except in the summers. In the summers, we had a AAA team, like a select team, and we go up to Canada quite a bit. But yeah, when I played for the Philadelphia Junior Flyers, which I think is the best program in the Philadelphia area. Played for two of the best coaches in the area, Jerry Domish and Bud Dombrowski. Played in 2 national championships. We won the bronze medal the one year. We lost to national champs, Team Illinois, 5-4. So we've had some great runs. We've had some. I played with some really good players. Some of my best friends. Tony Vos was one of my best friends growing up, still is, and he played a little bit of pro hockey. Played in Europe as well, in Germany. Chris Ballo, drafted second round. Great player, played at Harvard as well. We had a bunch of good players, and it was a great time. It was one of the greatest times of my life. Just playing, youth hockey. I played a little bit of college in college and at a small school called Nichols College. Had a great time. I won Rookie of the Year that year, but my coach got canned, so I didn't want to stay. It was a small school, so I ended up transferring to the University of Pittsburgh. Not really for hockey. I tried playing hockey there for a little bit, but it wasn't great. So, I just enjoyed the college experience. But yeah, I mean, listen, hockey was. It's like my mom always says, hockey was. It was something that kept me off the streets because it's so time consuming, and there's a lot of. Honestly, where I grew up, there's a lot of ways to get in trouble, and it's really easy to do that. But hockey kept me off the streets, and it surrounded me around a lot of great young people, good families. A lot of my closest friends to this day, people like Justin Postiglione, Tony Vos, Sam Weiner. I mean, I've got a long list of guys. We're still really close, and these are people I've known since I was, played hockey with since I was 7, 8 years old. So I always tell people the hockey community is a very, very special world. It's not just, we're not just talking about guys that make it to the show, but anyone that's involved in hockey is in their youth. They're involved in something very special, something that takes a lot of dedication from your parents. And it teaches you about dedication because it's really time consuming. The travel's crazy, but there's not a day that goes by where I don't, praise and thank my parents for getting me involved in hockey. It's an expensive sport, and we were definitely not. We did not have a lot of money. My parents struggled to keep me on the ice and play hockey, and so I'll never forget that. And I thank them for that every day. But the hockey community is the best community in all sports. It's the greatest world. It's something that if I ever have kids, I hope that they want to be involved in the hockey world, and if they do, I'll push as hard as I can to get them involved.
Did you end up playing junior after midget as well in between college, or
I played 1 year junior for the Junior Flyers. I was supposed to go to prep school.
What league was that in?
At Trinity Pauling. I was accepted. The coach wanted me bad to do a PG year. I had a setback with my family. Something happened, and so I couldn't go. And it was kind of I didn't know what to do with myself. So our owner started a junior B team. Okay. And so I played a year juniors there, but nothing. It was good. It was good hockey. We had a good run there too. We played with some great players. But it was 1 year, and then I ended up going off to college.
That I've heard a lot of good things about the Philly programs. I haven't seen them come out here to like the Max tournament or anything yet. But I've heard some good things about them from some of the other American coaches that I've talked to.
No, I mean, listen, it's not Minnesota. It's not, it's not Massachusetts, but I mean, we have very good programs. Junior Flyer program, Little Flyer programs competes nationally every year.
Yeah.
We put out a ton of good D1 players. Again, are we a top level, region in hockey? No, but really good, continuing to be a strong area, building, young hockey players, and the programs are legit. Our coaches, I'm still in touch with them. Jerry Domish and Bud Dombrowski are still running big time programs down there, and they're continuing to put out a lot of D1 kids now, and guys that are going up to play juniors and some pros as well.
That's good. I mean, well, Philly's definitely more of like a hockey town than like an Arizona is. And like Arizona's got some good programs coming up too. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Philly would have a good like minor hockey program. Because like even Arizona's, they went to nationals this year. And like they've got some studs that are coming out to play in juniors
You know,
in
look,
Canada.
I mean, I have these conversations all the time. Like, what's exciting about American hockey is there's a lot of people in obviously in North America, Canada, and America in the U.S., but there's a lot more people in the U.S. and there's a lot of money
Yeah.
in the United States. And as everyone knows, hockey is not an inexpensive sport, and so um, if you have if you're built with some good athleticism and a good drive, and your family wants to put you in through the hockey programs in your in your community, and you have the money to get good private lessons and whatnot, and get involved in good programs, like you can find great talent anywhere in the United States. And I would say Zach, I hope you don't take offense to this, but I would say U.S. hockey is almost better than Canadian hockey almost now. I mean, it's just there's just such
Nowadays,
a
man.
bigger pool, right? But it's I don't know, it's continuing to grow, and I obviously I'm still in touch with a lot of the people back in Philly, and I have a lot of friends whose kids are involved in junior Flyers and little Flyers programs, and there's a lot of good players that are coming up, so it's exciting.
Chucky, what do you think of the USA hockey programs compared to Hockey Canada nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, I love their like US national programs. Like they're bringing guys
Yeah.
in for under 18, under 20, like they're getting them so young.
Yeah,
And Canada really doesn't have a program like that. And they're getting to play with each other at really young ages, and obviously the player pool is growing. I'd like to see the full numbers on what Canada is compared to the US, but you can see there's more and more US guys getting drafted in the first round, and uh Canada's in trouble if they want to try and compete with the US for sure.
I mean, yeah, you said it perfectly. I don't know if Canada will ever be in trouble. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, the it could change on a yearly basis, right? US could be better one year, Canada could be better another year. The game is continuing to grow worldwide, so it's great for the game. But Eric Nystrom, he's like my brother. He went through the whole program, the USA national program, lived up in Ann Arbor as a young kid. And so, like you said, like they really work with these kids at a young age, and they mold them into great young future pros. And it's the US is doing something right for sure.
I always love watching the American teams that come down to like the max major midget tournament, or the Circle K now it's called, because I've scouted for like a long time now, or 7-8 years now. But there's just something different about a lot of those US programs. Like there's just the way that they coach. A lot of these coaches build these programs, the way that they play against these Canadian guys. I mean, it's a different style of hockey, and it works in a lot of these junior leagues coming. So a lot of these kids that, maybe they're a little bit older playing midget down in the US still, because like the way they run things is different down there than here too, in terms of minor hockey. But maybe guys that didn't get picked to go to the USHL or the National Development Program, they'll come out play in the AJ or like the SJ, the Saskatchewan League, and they'll light it up, and they can go to the NCAA that way. So there's just so many different avenues in hockey, which is one thing that I love about the sport in general. And then the differences between how the US is building their programs and how Canada's building their programs. It's just cool seeing how there's different opportunities for all different types of players.
Totally.
How's the programs in California looking right now?
I got to tell you, they're continuing to grow. There's a lot of there's quite a few guys that are playing in the NHL right now that are from California, Southern California, and there's a bunch of young kids that are getting shipped up to the Dub up there, and it's continuing to grow. Again, look, California, Southern California, Newport, or Orange County, even Los Angeles, you got a lot of money, right? So I know a lot of guys that do private lessons. They'll take like 5, 6, 7 guys, rent ice, and they do this like on a daily basis, 3, 4, 5 days a week. And parents just basically sign blank checks. So you're getting a lot of attention and a lot of training for these young kids. But it is definitely growing. I still skate over at Toyota Center, where the Junior Kings program is. And I talk to a lot of guys over there. And I mean, there's a lot of really good players that have been coming out of the area. One that comes to mind is, he's playing. He's the captain of the San Diego Gulls right now in the AHL. Chase Delio, a longtime friend of mine. I've known him since he was a kid, and he's just a great kid. But him and I talk all the time about the programs down in Southern California, and he went up and played for the Tri-City Portland for Portland Winterhawks, and he was great up there. And so we always talk about like youth hockey in the area and how it's continuing to grow and how he wants to continue to stay involved, bringing kids up and stuff. So I think it's continuing to grow in California. I really do.
I remember that LA had a team come out to the Max like 5 or 6 years ago, and they were okay. I think they were a little bit younger, so they struggled a little bit. But it's nice to hear that program's been on or LA hockey in general, California hockey in general has been on the up and up. I know like their Ducks program is pretty decent too. They had a pretty good year I think this year, depending on some of the guys or the level. But hockey's just growing everywhere, it seems. I mean, next, who knows? Maybe Vegas will start to get some junior programs up in there.
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen everywhere. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I mean, Shane Gostisbehere is from like South Florida, right?
Yeah.
There's guys from everywhere. It's a matter. There's those guys that are just next level. Have potential and physical talent and understanding the game. Obviously, is the most important thing, and to really have like that NHL vision and seeing the game properly. There's a lot of guys that are great athletes out there that play sports in general that can't get over the hump. But it's those guys. In order to really – something I've learned is the guys that make it to the show in any sport, for the most part, like they just see the game a little bit different. There's a lot of physically gifted people out there, but it's those that can understand the sport and really, use their mind on top of their physicalness. So their physical talent. So – but yeah, I mean, it's always exciting to learn about new players from all over the country and where they come from and their backgrounds and something that's unique. Like, like an Austin Matthews, for example. I mean, he's a perfect example of a guy like, he's from somewhere in Arizona and he's that good. Like, but that just goes to show you you can grow talent anywhere.
For sure. And there's so many guys coming up from various programs. Our sponsor for this episode is Overtime Markets, the top Web3 sportsbook. Overtime is an industry-leading sports betting platform where users can immerse themselves in the thrilling world of sports. Leveraging the benefits of decentralization and blockchain technology, Overtime leads the charge in sports innovation, all while offering fans juicy money rewards on major sporting events. Overtime supports all the major leagues and utilizes advanced, smart contracts to ensure an elevated user experience. Discover the future of sports betting at overtimemarkets.xyz, where sports and blockchain converge. Let's circle back to you a little bit. So you move out to LA, you start your business. How hard was it to start the jewelry and watches originally? Like, did you have to just buy a select amount of stock and then sell it off and then buy more off of the profits, or how'd that go?
Yeah, so it was challenging for sure. But what I would do is for watches, for example, there's a big handful of big time watch dealers all over the country, right? And what you do is if someone calls you for something, we have networks where we kind of talk to each other and find out who's got what and what condition and so on and so on. And so that's kind of how I used to go about my business then, by sourcing watches from different guys that I knew. Same thing with diamonds and stuff. But as I continue to grow and develop my business and learn and understand the way the business works, I started to become one of those guys that's kind of at the top that, people are feeding from. And now we're, my office, we have one of the 3 or 4 biggest watch inventories in the country. I mean, we're sitting on at least 350 watches at any given time.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I like to work mostly with like Rolex, AP, Patek Philippe, and RM, the big 4, but I work with any watch brand. I can get anything. But, I've really, really worked hard in understanding, what the majority of people are looking for as far as luxury watches and building a solid inventory and learning how to continuously restock that inventory. And, it's taken years for me to figure it out, but I've got an incredible team here. I work with, there's 13 people in my office. So it's a full operation, everything from, sourcing to shipping, to buying, to selling, to insurance. There's a lot of moving parts, but, it's taken me years to get there, but it's nice to sit back every once in a while and just kind of look at what I've built. because I literally came from, I knew nothing. I just kind of learned it on my own and figured out the business. And it's great. Look, I always say the best part of my business. So I sell high end watches. I sell entry level Rolexes. That's great. Yeah. The best part about that is that for the most part, I'm dealing with guys, right? Guys are buying themselves watches, or they're girls, but mostly the majority of my clients are guys that are buying watches for themselves, right? They had a good year and they're going to treat themselves, or they're a collector and they want to collect some watches. The best part about that is, if you really think about it, in my position, you get to meet so many different people from so many different walks of life, so many different businesses, CEOs, entrepreneurs. Um, and so my Rolodex, and I didn't really realize this until a couple of years ago, but like when I really look at my network and the people that I'm continuously in touch with and people that I've built friendships with, um, I mean, I'm friends with guys that are multi-billionaires that I didn't even know growing up or anything. Like, I just met them through business, and we've continued to build relationships. And not that really matters that they're billionaires, but like just meeting people that from all different walks of life that have different connections in different worlds, and where that puts me, and continuing to grow from that. And you treat someone well, they treat you well. That's kind of like that's the name of the game, right? And so from that aspect, it's been a great ride to meet amazing people. And then on the flip side of that, engagement rings. I do a lot of engagement rings. That's something I take a lot of pride in. There's a lot of ways that someone can be taken advantage of when they're buying diamonds. You have to be really, 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 really careful. There a lot of diamond dealers will sell you something that looks really good on paper, but it's really not. And they're going to hit a home run on you, and you have no idea what you're doing. And you trust someone. Trust. It's everything in this game. But anyway, so with engagement rings, that's more of a personal transaction with me. When I deal with clients and I'm dealing with engagement rings, this is a really, really important part of someone's life. And this is hopefully a once in a lifetime opportunity for them, something that, that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. And so I take a lot of pride in making sure my clients get the absolute best quality diamonds for their budget. And we call them in my industry, we call them desirable diamonds. So I basically offer the same standards as designer quality, as designer brands like Harry Winston, Cartier, Tiffany, but at direct wholesale. So what a lot of people don't know is I deal with one guy and one guy only when it comes to my diamonds. He's one of the biggest diamond dealers in the world. He's like a father figure to me. And he has access to diamonds direct from manufacturer, the same pool that Harry Winston and Cartier would buy their diamonds from. And so anytime a client comes to me and they say, hey, look, I'm looking for, I want to spend this much ballpark and I'm looking for a round diamond, I come back to them with the same thing that they're going to find at Tiffany's or Cartier, for a fraction of the price, same exact standards and everything. So, and then my manufacturing is absolute best in the industry. Everything's handcrafted from scratch for each individual diamond. My jeweler, who works for me exclusively for me and my company, is one of the best in the. He worked for Cartier for 23 years, so he's absolutely incredible. And I do direct wholesale everything, and that's basically been my business. I say this all the time. I like to hit singles and ask for referrals in return, and that model really works for me. I like to sleep well at night knowing I take good care of people and making sure they didn't overspend on something. And custom jewelry, same deal. And so the model's worked, and it allows me to continue to network and meet great people and take care of people and treat people right. And it's the way I've always lived my life, and now I apply it to my business, and it's been great.
That's an interesting thing too, because like I've heard throughout like the entertainment industry, like you see it a lot with like rappers. Like they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a chain or a watch, and it's like if they don't really understand, so some people don't really understand, like they're getting ripped off. So like having someone like you, where you said where you can actually trust your jeweler and you're actually looking out for the client is huge. So I appreciate that a lot in terms of from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and as someone who eventually, you know, wants to get more into watches and more into jewelry and stuff like that. And eventually, hopefully one day a girl will be crazy enough to let me buy her an engagement ring. But but yeah, having someone like you who actually looks out for the client is huge in the industry.
I've told people no so many times. I'm like, hey, don't do this. Don't do this. Trust me. Don't do this as much as they want to. You know, sometimes you want to make an impulse buy. I get it. When I was young, I like to do stupid things or make stupid purchases.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought they were cool and fun and whatever. But I'm big on. I shoot straight with some guys. There's a lot of guys that have wanted to buy certain things that I've kind of pushed them off of, and they look and go back. And so many years later, they come back and be like, "Man, thanks a lot. I appreciate what you did. Like when you pushed me out of that decision." There's people I've seen so many horror stories with people buying things that are not good quality, not well made, overpriced, things that will never hold their value, specific watches. You know, there's so many variables, and I really enjoy advising my clients really well. Like it's really important for me because I've always been a man of my word. Like my name is very important to me. My father taught me that at an early age. Like your name is what, you know, it's very important. Like always, you know, always be honest, always be truthful. People will respect that. And it always sunk in with me. So like when I built my business, I applied that to my business. I never wanted to hit home runs. I didn't, you know, I didn't care about, you know, trying to take advantage of a client just for my own well-being. And, you know, I got to tell you, I can speak from experience because I know a lot of people and I would never call them out by name, but there's a lot of pieces of shit in my industry. People I really don't care for. And I've seen them not only do things to specific clients, but some of them have done things to me. And I swore I would never be that guy. And so I love coming to work. I love my team. I love what I do. I love working with the clients that I work with. And you know, it's the old adage, right? It's the old adage that says, if you love what you do, if you really love what you do, then you're going to be successful. And I do. And I love what I love coming in the office and chopping it up with people on the phone. And I love doing podcasts like this with you as well. I do podcasts all the time, which is great. And you guys are doing a great job. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it too. Like I can't speak for Chucky obviously, but like I myself, I love podcasting. Like this is we've talked to so many cool people just in like the last few years that we've been doing it. And it's like it invigorated something to me where it made me want to, you know, jump back into other podcasts and, you know, start different, you know, look at different avenues and stuff like that. One thing I wanted to touch on too, when you said there was a lot of people that, you know, weren't the best people in the industry. There was one guy on TikTok, like in the last few months or something like that. He was like the timepiece gentleman or something like that. And I can blank it out if we don't want to say his name, but he was basically stealing. Chucky, I don't know if you heard about him, but he was basically like holding tons of watches on consignment and then like stealing millions of dollars from clients and like spending it on his cars. And he had like a drinking problem and like just wasting clients' money. And then all of a sudden he's like millions of dollars in the hole and he's owing all his clients all this money and he's got nothing.
You know, it's funny because I'm really big on telling people, like, look, don't always believe what you see on social media. Like, I don't have the biggest social media presence. Like, I'm not that big. I've got a great following of guys. I've got a ton of guys in the NHL, baseball, football, and other, you know, other people, but nothing crazy. I don't have like 300,000-400,000 followers and stuff. I'm not a social media whore. But there's a lot of people out there that are pretending to be something that they're not. And like that, in that instance, that's exactly what that was. And that's why you have to be really, really careful and understand who you're working with. I remember when that was going on, and I know a lot of people that sold him watches that got burnt. Wow. There's way more stories that I know than just that guy. There's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes in my industry. And so, like I said, you got to be really, really careful who you work with. But I do want to touch on one thing. We were talking about podcasting. I started a podcast just for fun with a buddy of mine, Colin Thompson, played in the NFL. He's a Northeast Philadelphia guy as well. just for myself, it's called Fair but Firm with Larry Flowers, because that's always how I've lived my life. Like I'm fair but firm. Like, I have an opinion and I'll speak it. But I always feel like it's an honest opinion. But the point is, doing the podcast to me has become something almost therapeutic, right? Because I think in the world we live in today, people don't communicate quite enough. Communication in today's world is a lot with, a keyboard or on your phone. There's less conversation. So it's really, I'm old school. I'm 45 years old. So I don't know if I can call myself old school. I guess I'm getting pretty close, right? to being able to say that officially.
I'm not calling anybody old anymore, man. I'm like touching 30. I'm like, fuck, slow down.
You're a baby, bro. Enjoy it. You're a baby. But it's good to talk, and it's good to, speak on things that are on your mind. And like, my podcast, I never started it to get huge. If it grows, great. It has been growing. It's a Philly heavy sports podcast, lifestyle. I like to just shoot the shit and say what's on my mind. But the more important thing is like doing these podcasts and speaking to people, talking to you guys. It opens up different little windows and doors of conversations of things that you wouldn't normally talk about, right? And I think that's really important for human development. I really believe that. I think it's good to talk to people, and so just think about that as you continue to like interview more people and continue to grow in your podcast. Just remember, like, you should be really proud of yourself to go down this road, because it's hard to do that in today's world, to be able to just talk to people constantly for a living. And I'd like to see more people be able to communicate that way. Because there's just so many people have no idea now that it's just all text messaging. You tell someone to call you, they just want to text. It's like, fuck, like we're human beings, right?
Yeah. Chucky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I see it in the locker room every day now. I was the oldest guy on my team this year in Berlin, and trying to communicate with some of the young guys now, you pretty much have to speak a different language. It's and like guys don't just really like go out for a beer and hang out as much anymore. It's just like, it would be nice if it got back to like the old school where, guys aren't just buried on their phone, buried on video games all day.
Totally.
We're lucky we had a really good group this year in Berlin, where a bunch of guys would go for lunch, and on the road we're always going out for dinners and setting something up. Whereas nowadays on a lot of teams, you really don't get that.
It's funny you say that, because Obi, Uppy, Loops, and we always have these conversations. And I still have a lot of guys that play in the show right now, and they tell me about their rooms. I'm not going to name any out, publicly, but I know the rooms that supposedly are not really tight, where they don't go out to dinners and guys bring their video games on the road and they sit there and they play video games all night until they go to bed. And instead of going out and, having a glass of wine with your boys and, getting some nice dinner and communicating. But it seems to me like the teams, and this is probably not universal, but it seems to me, and again, I know a lot of guys in the NHL, and I know you do too. And I talk to them a lot about this because I think it's interesting. It seems to me like the majority of the better teams, especially come playoff time, are teams that have a really good room. And, communicating with your teammates and having those type of relationships where you're not just on social media all day and, sitting playing video games. It just makes sense that those teams and those teams will be better with better rooms. It's really interesting to see what's happening with young kids now with social media and the phones and video games. It's a little disappointing, right? I certainly didn't grow up like that. We had video games, but you couldn't get us in the house when we were kids. So I don't know what happens next. I mean, do teams end up enforcing that a little bit? Like, do you force guys to go out to dinners on the road, which I mean, I know you can't do, but I hear you, man. It just doesn't make sense where guys would just want to sit in instead of going out and just, bonding together. Bonding is everything, right?
I've always been like a big video game guy, but bringing them on the road with you is crazy to me. As an NHL player, like, why you're bringing your PlayStation on the fucking road trip?
Zach, you could speak better on this than I can, right? But I mean, guys, I guess have like these like custom like almost briefcase things where it's like, it's like they're like professional video game suitcase things, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I've seen guys with that for sure.
Yeah.
I don't have one, but yeah, their computers are, $4,000 or $5,000, and they got to get the top internet speed and
Yeah.
be buzzing online. It's not me, but pretty funny.
I mean, teach his own, but fuck.
I mean,
go out with the boys when you're on the road. Go out with the boys. Go out, go get some nice dinner. That's real life.
If you're like one of those streamers and you're making like good money doing it, absolutely do it. But if you're in the NHL, you don't need to stream or you don't need to play your video games to pay your rent next month. Like, you're fine. Go out with the boys.
Yeah, I just think it not only in a hockey locker room but all sports locker rooms, and not only that, but like, even office environments or like friendships and family. Think about it. Like, you don't want to, if you're having dinner with your family, you don't want your kids sitting there on their iPad while you're trying to have a nice dinner, right? Like, it's the same concept. You want to, like, if I have kids one day, like, there's not going to be iPads on my dinner table. It's going to be conversation. How was your day? Little things like that. Or we're never forget, we're all human beings, man. We have to communicate. So it goes back to you guys doing the podcast and talking to so many people, and I do my podcast, and I'm always, I'm fortunate enough to be a guest on a lot of different podcasts. So, I love it. It's really good to talk to people, and it's good for the soul. It really is.
Is that how you met these guys in the beginning? Like, you say you're friends with Obi and
No,
Upshaw and
no, we go way back. I mean, so me and Loops go back like 16, 17 years. We had a mutual friend. We became really good friends right out of the gate, and he was good friends with Uppy and Obi, and they lived in Newport. Obviously, I was in LA. And so I would always go down. Loops would always have awesome get-togethers at his beach house. And it was a July 4th. This is like 15 years ago. He had a monster July 4th party, and their whole crew was down there from Orange County. I had my whole crew from LA, and we all kind of knew each other, but we all went down to this party, and it was like an explosion of like just instant friendship. It was great. And we all just became as tight as can be. And to this day, we're all like brothers. We're on our group chat and we're nonstop, and we see each other as much as possible. I was just up with them in Vancouver last week for the Oilers Canucks game. We just have an amazing relationship. We do everything together. We golf, we go out, we go to dinners, we travel. We argue, we debate, we do everything. We're literally like a group of brothers. And it's great. We're very, very fortunate to have that.
Those are good guys too. Like Uppy came on the pod. I think it was like season 3 last season. And we've hung out with Obi and Uppy. I actually met Obi and Uppy in Nashville during the Stadium Series week. Original week in Nashville. I just saw him at like Red Door. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, missing curfew, like, fellas, what's up?
Yeah, fucking right.
And then we exchanged numbers, and then he came on the pod like a few months, or it might have even been a year later. And then last year during Battle of Alberta playoffs, they all came out to Calgary, and there was a shit show after that game.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, no, they're doing a great job over there, missing curfew, and I was on there from the very, very beginning when they were.
Well, that's how I discovered you too.
Yeah, sweet. They've been building it, and they're doing a tremendous job. They're, in the beginning, it's hard. You don't really know how to do it. And the old joke from O'Brien was always, we'd be out at dinner, and then we get nice and buzzed, and we'd all say, Obes, you're doing a great job. Like it's gonna work. It's gonna work. And he'd be like, kind of sideways, and he'd always say, Flowers, no one's listening. It was like its old side joke. But now
that's Zach.
Now when we're out and about, we do the same thing. And he's like, Flowers, a couple people, they're listening, aren't they, Flowers? They're listening. So it's great for them. And it's been a privilege to be on that show a million times, and they continuously chirp me nonstop on that show. It's all in good taste, so it's great.
That sounds exactly like Chucky, though, especially like the first couple of seasons. It's like, fuck, no one's watching the pod. I'm like, last season, I'm like, but Chucky, they're looking at the clips, man. Like, look at the Instagram, look at the TikTok. Like,
totally. You know,
Like, we
again,
can do
if
something
you,
here.
if you don't, no, it really is. It's like anything else. If you just stick with it and you continue to grind and you get good guests on and you really put your energy into it and you care, I mean, you know, it can't not work. It's your show,
For sure.
right?
Um, Again, let's since we're on the topic of podcasts, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, Miss and Curfew and Chicklets, they had to have helped at least build the business a little bit in like the past few years. And then talk about the story where you really started to see things just explode, like where you felt everything changed for the business.
Yeah, I mean this is that's my story. Like the blue story with Spit and Chicklets. Obviously, being on Missing Curfew is great because I get tons of exposure and my business has grown um, big time from being on that show. But 2019, I don't know how deep you want me to really get here, but I might as well just fucking say it. So my childhood best friend, who I started the gold business with in Dallas, passed away. Um, Mental illness, horrible thing. He was one of the greatest people in the world,
Sorry to hear
and
that, man.
yeah, it was the toughest thing I've ever gone through in my life. I lost everything. I lost my business. I lost all my money. I literally lost everything. And so for a year, I moved back to Philly just to kind of reset my mind a little bit and figure out like what my next step was going to be. This is before I built Larry Flowers Jewelry. Um, at the time, we were partners on another company in jewelry, but I was back in Philly and I was kind of just resetting my mind and figuring out my next steps. And the Blues were coming to Philly to play the Flyers. And so some of my closest friends, Rob Bortuzzo, Braden Shen, Alex Steen, all really, really good friends of mine. Jane Schwartz, just great guys, were coming into town. And so and a lot of sports writers had them picked to win the Stanley Cup that year, or at least get to the finals. They were one of the best teams in the league on paper. Ryan O'Reilly, they just had a great roster, great locker room team, that's for sure. Anyway, they were dead last in the NHL. I know you guys probably know the story, but for those people who don't, they were dead last in the NHL. And it was just a disaster of a season. Halfway through, it was February, I believe, and they're in Philly, and the Eagles are playing the Chicago Bears in a playoff game. So we have like a big group chat with me and the bunch of the guys on the Blues. And the reason why I was so close with those guys is because Uppy played for them. So I got to know them over the course of 3 years and build a great relationship with a lot of those guys. So anyway, we're on the group chat and I said, hey, listen, guys, like I know things are tough right now. You're in Philly. The Eagles are playing in a playoff game, which is it's like church in Philly. It's everything, right? The whole city shuts down. It's on. So I said, let me put something together for us. If you guys want, there's a private members only bar. It's like a row home at the end of a row home in South Philly. And let me put something together where we can all go and watch this game together. It'll be fully catered. I'll bring a DJ in. It won't be anything crazy, but it'll be really nice. Maybe it give you an opportunity to get your mind off of things. And they all agreed, fuck it, let's do it. So I put together this party. It looks like a dive bar, but it's not really a bar. You don't even take money. It's just all like membership fees to stock the bar. So we had a DJ. All the Italian moms made all the food, homemade pastas, meatballs, lasagnas, chicken parm, like proper Italian food. And it turned out that a lot of people showed up from the neighborhood because the word obviously spread. This is as blue collar neighborhood as it gets. So anyway, so all the boys are in their Ubers and they're on their way and they're kind of texting me like, hey, Flowers, are we in the right neighborhood? Like, we're kind of scared here. This is a little crazy here. I mean, it's South Philly, right? And I'm like, oh, boys, you're safe. Like, I got to tell you, a lot of the people that are part of this bar and their families go back old school Italian, if you know what I mean. So they were safe, right? hanging around these people. So anyway, they show up and they walk in the bar and the bar goes absolutely nuts. You have a bunch of pro athletes walking into this little shitty dive bar on the corner of a row home in South Philly. And to them, it's like, it's a big deal to these people. And so they walk in and we have a great night. and the food was going, and the music's going, and the Eagles game is on, and the Eagles end up winning on that crazy kick that hit the field goal post and popped out. But there was a time when me and Alex Steen were sitting at the bar, and we're just kind of shooting the shit a little bit, catching up. Steener's the man. Alex Steen is the fucking man. I have so much respect for him. He's a guy that gets that demands, respect, but he'll listen. He talks to people. He cares, and we've built an incredible relationship. So we're sitting at the bar, and he's like, man, Flowers. He's like, I feel like I had, I worked really hard with the Army. Doug Armstrong, the GM. I worked really hard with Army to help, kind of help put some pieces together. And I thought this was our year, and it's just such a disaster. And it's so upsetting. And, we kind of go back and forth a little bit. And the song Gloria from Laura Branigan, very, very popular 70s song, disco song, was playing. And we look to our right, and Robbie Fabry is yelling. He's a young kid at this time, and he's just yelling, play Gloria, because he loves this song. He's never heard this song before. And we look at Fabs. We look at each other. We go, look at Fabs. He's having a great time. He goes, I'll tell you what, Flowers, if we win tomorrow, I'll play this stupid song in the locker room. I go, all right, great. And we kind of left it at that. And we just enjoyed the night, and me and Bortuzzo and him, and we're just having a good time and laughing and whatever. And so anyway, they take off. The next day, they play the Flyers. I bring my dad to the game, and Jordan Binnington's first game ever in his career in the NHL, and they beat the Flyers 3-0. And so it was cool. And they're playing the song in the locker room, and they're taking videos, and they're all sending it to me on the group chat, and they're like, look at this, play Gloria. I'm like, oh, this is funny. Fast forward, a couple weeks, they go on a crazy run. I mean, at one point, I think they won 10 in a row, and they're playing the song in the locker room nonstop. And I'm sending it around to people like, hey, Biz, check this out. Like Paul Bizinet from Spit Chicklets. And I'm sending it around to a bunch of people like, hey, man, look, the Blues have something going here. Play Gloria. And they're like, eventually they're slowly climbing out of the cellar. And Biz and Whit called me. I've known Whit for a long time, and Biz and I have been friends for a pretty long time now. And so they both reach out to me, but Whit reaches out to me and says, Flowers, what's going on with this story? Like, what's up with the Blues? This Play Gloria thing. What do you got? I'm like, well, I kind of told him the shorter version, and they're like, fuck it. Like, come on the pod, tell this story, because this story is growing. This team's on something. So I go on the pod and I tell this story, and now this story completely explodes. My name explodes in the hockey world because, I was pretty well known with a lot of the players, but now you have a pool of, thousands and thousands of people. They get tons of downloads, for their podcast. So, and now a lot of people knew who I was, and they understood who I was in the jewelry game and the watch game. And so my company absolutely just exploded right out of the gate. It was nuts. And it was, remember, this is about a year, just over a year after, I lost everything. I lost my best friend. I lost my business. I lost everything. And this is like a once in a million type of story. But the story continues, and the Blues do get in the playoffs, and they have to grind to continue to win. They played a tough Game 7 against Dallas that year, and it was just unbelievable drama. And they end up making it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Boston Bruins, and the team's flying me back and forth for every game. I'm like fully a part of the story. There's news outlets outside of the bar in Philly. It's a whole thing. It's on the TV. Like, I'm sure you remember watching games, and it was like, intermission. They would show like cameras. It was like a whole thing. But anyway, fast forward, it goes to Game 7. It's in Boston, and if St. Louis loses that game, it's just a pretty cool story, right? Obviously, the more important thing is the Blues winning a Stanley Cup. Yeah. But from my perspective, it's like, if the Blues don't win, it's a cool story. But if they win, it's legendary story, right? I mean, these aren't necessarily my words. Like, I don't like to toot my own horn like that, but
for sure is.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've had people in media, I've had big people in media come to me and say, this is the biggest sports fan sports story in the hockey world, like ever. Like as far as like a fan's story that integrated with, other than like obviously Layla was a big part of it, the girl that
Yeah.
had cancer, of course. But the Play Gloria thing, I mean, they were playing it on the Jumbotron every game. It was a huge story. Anyway, they win. They blow the doors off of Boston Game 7, and it was written. Changed my life. Really changed my life. I'll never forget that. It's one of the greatest things that I guess is one of the greatest stories I'll ever be able to tell. Um, it was an amazing thing to be a part of. They put me in the parade. Me and Bortuzzo had our own float. They put me on the team stage, which I asked them not to do, and they did it anyway. They put me on the team plane to Vegas with the cup. I mean, I went for the entire ride, and it was really something I'll never forget. It was a magical experience, and it's something that the majority of people, I mean, literally only a handful of people in the world will ever be able to experience that without actually, lacing them up and blocking a shot. So it was really cool, and it was changed my life.
That's an unreal story, man. I'm surprised they didn't hire you to design the rings after.
Well, they all the big companies mostly work with a company called Jostens.
Gotcha.
And I wasn't like, I wasn't really ready at that point in my career to like build like an NHL ring just quite yet. I could do it now. But that's a whole other animal. And I'd love to be able to do the rings one day. That would be amazing. But yeah, I wish I was, but there is the a lot of people say that they put me on the ring. If you look at the ring, there's this little guy holding a cup, and it's the exact same as me from a picture of me holding the cup on the ice with Schwartzy and Schenner. And I mean, listen, there's been people in front office for the Blues who have told me like it was inspired by that picture of you. So I mean, I don't know.
That's
But it's
pretty
pretty cool.
sick.
Pretty cool.
That's pretty sick. You might be designing Chucky's new rings here soon, hey Zach? The fact that the Kings are owners of Berlin.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the AEG, right?
yeah, they own us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I knew that. Yeah, totally.
How did your partnership with them come about? So you were partnered with the NHL and AEG and the LA Kings, is that
No,
right?
so the Kings have been coming to me for years, asking me to be a partner of the LA Kings because obviously my office is downtown LA in the Diamond District, very close to at the time Staples, which is now Crypto.com Arena. But they've been trying to work with me for a long time, and it wasn't the right time for me. And eventually, Dion Phaneuf, who's an old school friend of mine, started working with AEG with corporate partnerships. And so they had a meeting and he said, hey, like, I want to bring Flowers in. And they're like, we've been trying, like, good luck. It's not going to work. He says, no. I've known Flowers for a long time. And I've known Dion for a long time. And he says, let me talk to him. Do you know Dion at all?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah, he's funny. He talks like, yeah. Let me talk to Flowers. So anyway, he does reach out. And anyway, long story short, he ends up putting a great deal together. I was his first ever deal with him working with the AEG, and it was awesome. It was an incredible honor to be a part of the LA Kings and organization as far as sponsorships is concerned. My logo is all over the barn, during games. It's on TV. It's on the ice. It reached a lot of people. And there's never in a million years would I have thought that, my name would be in lights in one of the two biggest sports arenas on the planet. So crypto.com is an incredible place to watch sports. It's like Madison Square Garden, crypto.com arena, right? In America. So to have that, being a small company, a mom and pops type company like myself is an incredible honor. And it was an awesome run.
That's awesome, man. I know we're running a little long here, but I got a couple more things if it's okay with you guys.
Totally.
One thing I kind of wanted to ask is, so coming, I know you said you work with watches and jewelry everywhere from a starter Rolex to the big boys. So if you were to recommend like a starter luxury watch for, like, say a guy, you know, who just signed his first pro deal, or someone who got their first big contract in entertainment, and they kind of want to like step up their watch game, like every milestone they hit in their career, where would you recommend that they start?
Great question. You know, you can never go wrong with a nice date just. And there's different variations. There's smooth bezel, there's fluted bezel. Fluted bezels with actual 18 karat gold. They're a little bit more money, but you know, if you get a nice date just, they'll last forever. They'll always be worth money on your wrist. Anything that I push on my clients are things that, you know, if you ever want to sell one day, you know, even if the market turns, like, you're not going to get crushed. You're still money on your wrist. You can always trade in, and guys give me watches back all the time for me to sell for them, which I do. But I would say a nice date just is really nice. A nice Submariner, whether it's with or without date, are really nice watches. You know, they go anywhere. You can, based on pre-owned or new, you can be anywhere between $10,000 and $14,000 for a nice sub. Same with the date justs. But yeah, those are the watches I sell the most for guys that are, you know, looking to buy their first timepiece. You know, they've signed their first deal. But again, and then next level things would be like a GMT, like a Batman or a Pepsi or Batman or Sky Dwellers. Or then we could even go into AP, which is, you know, some nice Royal Oaks, some 15400s or 15500 models, which are really nice Royal Oaks. There's a lot of options out there, but again, it's really important when anytime I show options to clients or things that are going to hold their value, and things that they're not going to get burned on. Where, like, if you go and buy like a Hublot, respectfully, like, they're nice watches, but if you go and buy a Hublot at retail, it's probably worth 40-50% less the day you walk out of the shop. Right? Okay. That's just how it is. So that's why I like to try to keep guys in the Rolex AP game world. And then obviously for the guys that are making, you know, big money that want to get some serious pieces, like I have those too. In fact, I just sold an AP Tourbillon yesterday, $210,000. It's
wow,
crazy watch. But I sell those all the time. It's wild. But there's watches for everybody. But to purchase something wisely is the most important thing.
So when you see a lot of guys like icing out their watches, that just completely killed the value of them.
Yeah, you know, I don't see that much. The majority of my clients aren't those guys that do that. It's so funny. I actually just sold one, which I haven't done in so long, and I sold it. I can't say to who. I technically I can't say to who, but I did sell one, and it's for a girlfriend because she loves that look. But I did just sell one, and it was the first one I've sold in a long time. I mean, they look cool, but like they have no resale value at all.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
for those
pieces.
None
at
like
all.
Same
they
with chains.
Crushed.
Like I love jewelry, I love diamonds, but it's like I'm more at the point where I'm like, I'd rather buy a nice watch than like a big chain, or like it's like just depreciating asset if I ever do want to sell it.
Even if you buy a chain, I sell a lot of tennis necklaces, like nice ones. I own a bunch. Like if you buy well and they're well built and they're good quality, again, if you bought from me, you did well. You could always sell it. It's worth money. If you buy like the junk stuff that's made cheap and quick flip, then you're probably in one.
Well, the next one's definitely going to be from you. The next piece of jewelry I'm getting, whether it's for me or a gift for someone, is definitely going to be from you.
I appreciate it. I'll hook you up. I hook everybody up. That's the way I run my business.
Chucky, what you've won some watches through I think it was a Swiss league, wasn't it? What brand of watches were they?
Yeah, I think we were actually talking to Roman Yossi's company for a little while.
Emmanuel, were you talking to?
Yeah.
Norcane.
Yeah, Narcan, yeah.
Yeah, very, very nice people. Nice watches too.
Yeah, and then obviously we got a couple of rings too, and when we won in Berlin, so got another one of those coming. But yeah, I think a watch would be nice.
Yeah, totally. How'd you like play in Germany, by the way?
It was awesome. Yeah, we were getting 16,000 fans every night, and obviously when you win, it's pretty good. Our travel. We're one of the only teams that got to fly, so Germany is a fun country to be in.
Who'd you play? Did you play with Red Bull?
Berlin Eisbären.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have some friends that played in Germany, and And I also have a really good friend, Dennis Seidenberg. He actually lives down, yeah, I don't know if you know that name, but he lives down the street from me in Margate, New Jersey in the summers. His wife's from Philly, Rebecca. But we've talked we talk German hockey all the time. I've talked German hockey with a lot of different guys all the time, and it's a good league. It's tough too. It's a man's league, right?
It's getting better. Yeah, I actually played with Sides in Carolina.
Oh yeah,
T-Blades back in the day.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. He's the man. I love him. He's the best. He's just such a nice guy. Yeah, you did. That's great.
That's awesome. Chuck, you got anything else here?
No, I think that was awesome. I lost my earpiece. It died on me, so that's why I'm trying to listen in here. But
okay. I got one more thing if we got time. So we there's actually another Larry that we're trying to get on the pod. I've been talking to for a couple years. Hopefully do some TV stuff with him. But his name's Larry Lawton. He's the former biggest jewel and watch thief in the U.S. He stole anywhere from $15 to $20 million worth of jewelry in the 80s. So I want to know, with all the craziness that's going on in LA, do you ever have to deal with anything in terms of criminal or guys trying to get in your shops, or are you a private shop where you only you have to like personally bring in your clients, or can anybody just walk in?
Great question. I've heard every single horror story. It's a small community. I'm at the very top of the 606 building, which is also technically like almost a federal building because there's immigration downstairs.
Okay.
And there's guards downstairs that have big boy guns. And so walking into this office and trying to fuck around would be a big mistake. And not to mention that we have a couple big boy pieces in this office as well. And we're double doored, super secure. But no, to be honest, we've never had an issue here. It's very, very secure. However, I am in the jewelry district, and downstairs in the jewelry mart, there's always something going down, and we see the videos, and it's a shame what happens. But I've heard horror stories of people getting, there are people like myself, but not myself, that, try to wheel and deal, and they'll drive around with a lot of expensive stuff, trying to meet up with people and just try to hustle. And then it only takes one person to find out and get jacked. And I've seen it a million times. Unfortunately, it's very sad, but no, I run a clean ship. We have a beautiful office. It's very safe and secure, and it's pretty much like an appointment only type deal, but we have a beautiful showroom and everything. So it's 24/7 action when we're in the office here. There's always people in and out. And it's fun, man. It's fun. You just talk and talk to a lot of different people. In fact, there's probably some people waiting for me right now.
All right, well, we'll let you go. We appreciate you we coming on the pod, taking the time. Thank you so much, man. We learned a lot. We'll have to get you on again. We talked a lot of hockey. I would love to talk about more jewelry, more watches and stuff. But yeah, thank you again, man, and congratulations on everything that you've built so far and how far you've come.
I'm so grateful. I really, really am. Thank you for having me on. You guys are awesome. I had a lot of fun, and I'll come on anytime with you guys, literally anytime you want. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, man. And we'll have to get some watches from you soon. We'll have to take a trip, Chucky.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'll set up the dinners.
All right, man.
All right, boys.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Cheers.